co-host, Dan Robin.
Hey, John.
How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great.
So I thought we would talk today about just the concept of tribe. It's always good to define terms when you're talking about things, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually myself curious about your thoughts on why you pick tribe versus, family or some other term like that.
I hate my family.
I
I was going to go with family.
And you love your tribe.
I do. I was like, God damn it, I hate those people. No, that's a really good question, yeah.
But I guess family, now that you even say that, like there's a lot of different families out there with a lot of different issues.
Right. No, I don't hate my family. That's terrible. I should not say that. But I'll tell you, I learned something in life about family. We grow up, we hear these axioms, blood is thicker than water, family first, Dan, always family. Did you hear that when you're growing up, something like that?
Yeah, all the time.
All those chestnuts. And then what happens, that works great if you have mentally healthy, normal family, right, who care about you and help you and take care of you.
If you're in that 5% of the population.
Is it? Yeah. If you're in that. But if your mom's a borderline personality disorder, my mom's not. My mom's terrific. Or if you have narcissists as siblings or something like this, it's not so great to be family first and always family.
Right. Well, I'm thinking because at least half my family is pretty crazy. So half my family's pretty much insane and the other half is pretty dysfunctional. So,
right.
Split about down the middle.
Right.
And but what I found is that anytime I bring that up, almost anybody will be like, "Oh, well, yeah, but you should see my family." Right. So it's pretty much
the one-upsmanship about how dysfunctional their family
is. Yeah. I don't remember ever bringing that up at anyone being like, "Oh, really?" Because mine is we have no issues.
We have no issues. We get along wonderfully.
And if anyone does say that, that's probably the worst family out there. Like that's probably like,
right.
"Oh, we get along great." I mean, my parents
get along great. Yeah.
They're in prison, but
or yes, my family is stuffed and they're in the back room.
Yeah, right.
I murdered them years ago. I came to the conclusion actually very late in life, actually pretty recently, that you should hold your family to a higher standard of behavior than you would strangers, because you're naturally inclined to accept them and have them in your life no matter what the heck they do, right? So if that's my bias, maybe I should hold them to a little bit higher standard of behavior than I do just the run-of-the-mill person on the street.
Yeah. The only thing is if you hold them to that standard, they don't meet the standard, you're still stuck with them though. You can't, like friends, strangers, you can't sort of axe out of your life.
You can't axe family members out of your life?
Yes, you can.
Of course you can, man.
It's a little harder though.
It's a little harder.
More to it.
Yeah. So that's why I didn't choose family.
Yeah.
And then I didn't choose community because whenever I think of the word community, I think of like the community swimming pool.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and people peeing in it or something like this. I don't know. Yeah.
And also, I mean, I've been in a lot of communities and you don't necessarily have too much of an emotional connection with them, right? You can just be like, I'm in the community, or even your hometown, or like think of your a community you're in could be, your neighborhood, and you might feel like I don't feel that loyal to this neighborhood, or like it's a big defining part of me, or it's not that important to me. Some people it is, but
when I also think of community chest from the game Monopoly when I think of community, and I'm going to get $10 for winning a beauty contest.
Yeah,
or something.
It's a vague term anyway, right? So
well,
it doesn't feel
so many
powerful.
terms are loaded with connotation that some of them become useless. Like I noticed the word meditation has so many different powerful connotations for people that if somebody's not into it and you start saying, "Yeah, I really like meditation," they start to think that you're sort of a frivolous hippie, new agey, wacko person.
Yeah, there's tons of terms like that. I've spoken with you lately about a lot of, definitely don't want to go into this, but a lot of what's going on in the country today or in the world today. I've brought up, it feels like, it's like a yin yang thing, like yin versus yang, and everyone will like turn off immediately, like, what is this hippie crap you're talking about?
Oh, when you use the term yin and yang?
So I have to like not use that term. Like I have to size up. If someone's like, if it's a yoga class, I can say yin and yang and get almost extra credit. They're like, oh yeah, yin and yang. But like my sarcastic like New York friends or something, you know what I mean? If I say that term, it's over. Like there's no point in even You know, like I could go.
You
well,
say
what
that to your buddies,
Yeah.
and now you're going to get these scatological references thrown at you.
the conversation's done. I could even that from there be like, well, no, wait. What I mean is, like sort of this masculine energy versus feminine, or I could, but it's all over. Like I could explain for 20 minutes what I mean, and then at the end of that, they'd be like yin yang. You know, like what are you?
Okay, Dan.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Yin Yang. Like, you know, I'm like,
then the rest of the night.
Did you hear anything when I said?
I'll have a beer and get one for Mr. Yang down there.
Exactly. Yeah, possibly even years later, I could hear it like a reunion or something. So these terms are loaded.
Right. And I do, in my jiu-jitsu classes, we start the class with a meditation, but I call it a focus drill just for that very reason. Because I know a certain percentage of people are just going to check out if you say
I'm not
meditation.
meditating.
Yeah. Right. So that's why when I think of the word tribe, it's a powerful word. But it's not a word without its challenges. I was on Facebook, and I posted sort of a congratulatory post to one of our students who got a promotion. I don't remember the exact scenario, and it's a picture of the person, and I think they might have just joined the academy. So I said, "Welcome to the tribe," and some person who I'm not even friends with on Facebook came out of the woodwork and said, "Why are you using the word tribe? I think that's offensive to Native Americans, and it's cultural appropriation." I was like, wow. So, but, I understand, I guess, where he's coming. I don't think he's sincere. I think it was just a sort of a grandstand. But I answered the question, why are you using the word tribe? Well, people have been forming tribes since the beginning of Homo sapiens. That's why, and I'm a Homo sapien.
Could you go, but also, like, there's certain tribes, could you go to, like, a tribe, like the Maasai warriors, go to that tribe and be like, you're being insulting to the Native American population.
Well, the word tribe is English, so you can't culturally appropriate a word if it's not even from that culture. It doesn't make any sense. But I understood, and I answered it, I think, politely and reasonably. I'm using the word tribe because it's a human word. It's what humans have been doing. I think the latest science says Homo sapiens have been around since 300,000 years now. And who knows for sure, but they've probably been forming tribes since very early on.
Right. Well, we're a tribal species, right? We're no different than there wasn't some person running around. There wasn't a caveman running around by himself tackling a woolly mammoth, right? Like we needed tribes.
Right.
We're a tribal species. We couldn't do anything on our own.
Couldn't kill enough stuff.
Yeah, we couldn't eat.
Ourselves.
We couldn't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like wolves, they don't run around. I always thought about that.
I totally agree. Wolf pack, that's a really good metaphor or analogy as well, too. I do notice that there are some people that resist the pull of the tribe.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I was just thinking, everyone loves the lone wolf, right? Like they're like, I'm a lone wolf. And I always was like, what someone like bragging like I'm a lone wolf. It's like, you mean rejected by the tribe and going to die? Because you're not, like, is that flattering? Like, I don't know. I guess they mean something different. They mean I don't pull the, I don't.
I think they mean I don't follow convention. I create my own rules. I think for myself. But I see guys come in my academy, and they kind of resist the tribe, and they hang on the edge, sort of the periphery of the pack, and it's to their own detriment. And to me, it's just like a wolf that would do that. If the wolf that doesn't join the pack, he tries to hang out by himself, he's eating the scraps. He's eating the leftovers that the other wolves don't eat. You know what I mean? He's eating the chicken feet. He's not getting the chicken breast. And he's looking all mangy and bedraggled. It's just not cool. I mean, it sounds cool, but it isn't.
Yeah, but also I think there's also people I noticed in your gym or any gym, I assume, that they maybe, and I'd include myself, that maybe they resist sort of tribal or pack-like thought, but that doesn't mean you always have to do that. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean you always have to stay at the outside. I mean, there's people like Chad or Nick that, like, I don't think they're people that jump onto every trend and they're right in the center of, they, at the same time, they don't always.
Now, why is that? I'm sort of like that myself. I resist the group think. I don't want to fall into that. I don't know. I went to Catholic school for 6 years. I don't know if getting beaten over the head and face with rulers did that to me.
Uh,
But I resist the group think sometimes in the convention.
I'm that way because, well, sometimes it's legit, right? Obviously, a lot of times it's legit. And I have it with, I have an, like, it's sort of hyper tuned up in that people say things, and I think a lot of times, like groupthink, everyone sort of nods along with it, and I'm sort of the one sitting there going, is that true? Like, I think I brought up with you, you know, things you hear like, never ever give up, and everyone's like, yeah, and I feel like I'm the one person there going like, what do you mean never ever give up on anything ever? Like, so if you start anything,
You could
just
be
never
stuck in
ever
a-
stop doing anything. Like,
12 years later, just one more clue on this crossword puzzle, I'll be done. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, this relationship's been horrible for 20 years. I'm not quitting on it. Like, it's sort of like,
That's a great example, actually. Somebody once
you
said
should give up on
the
things, right?
definition of a successful relationship isn't one that doesn't end. It's when it ends at the right time, which makes perfect sense when you think
So
about
for
it.
me, I feel like a lot of times you hear like everyone just sort of nods almost based on the tone of voice, or like they like sort of the sound of a slogan.
Right.
And I'm just someone that hears it and thinks like, what does that actually mean? Like, and so I resist in that way,
Right.
you know?
When I first got out of college, I took some corporate jobs, and I hated it. It was awful. And I was that guy that questioned every goddamn thing that they said. And I was right to, because they were horrible companies, and they had horrible management teaching and telling people horrible things. So
That's another point, which is people are wrong a lot, right? So it's sort of
Yes.
like, I think it can be right to question, you know, when someone speaks, to just be like, well, what did they say? And let me think, do I actually agree with that? As opposed to like, so I get it. I get that people don't want to be, but I think that's a different thing. Like,
it's a little
to say
different.
like,
Yeah.
like you can have, I think an example is your gym, where there's like, it can be a strong tribe, but full of leaders in a way. You know what I mean? It doesn't
Right.
mean you have to be a follower. I think people are, maybe that's it. People are putting together
Mm.
follower and being in a tribe.
That's a great
You
point.
know.
So you can be in a tribe and be a leader, be a cultivator of the culture, and contribute, not mindlessly, sheepishly follow whatever's spewing from the L. Ron Hubbard of the tribe.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. That makes total sense. I resisted the tribe a lot myself. Now that I think about it, even in my academy, and only till very recently did I let go of that feeling of being that I needed to be this sort of hyper rugged individualist where I did everything. I'm going to design the website. I'm going to clean the mats. I'm going to teach all the classes. All that is so limited. It's amazing. And I've found that when I've let go of the reins to the other leaders of the tribe, the academy has blossomed. The tribe has just grown and
So in
benefited so
literal
much.
terms, you've just allowed them to like teach more classes or come up with curriculum, or just,
Did you see our lobby?
yeah.
So Coach Steve Chorney was the leader of this, but he got a bunch of guys in, and they repainted the lobby. It came out amazing. And then he got people to contribute frames, and he sort of curated amazing photographs and just completely redid the lobby, which is something that is beyond my skill set. I never could do it. I don't have the patience or the personality to do it. And he actually didn't even discuss it with me. He didn't say, John, this is what I'm planning. He just instinctively knew that this was going to be great, and he could do it. And I had a shift in my perspective on tribe recently, and I came in one morning, and it was done, and I felt like a kid coming down to Christmas. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. And that's the power of tribe. When you allow leaders, like you're saying, not the leader at the top, leaders to contribute, it just makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And I think, to your point about people that stay off to the side, there's different versions of that too, right? There's versions of people that don't want to be in this, like actively stay out, and that is probably the most unhealthy. Like where you're like, I don't want to be part of this. I'm not a,
Right.
the active lone wolf kind of mentality. And then other people, I think, just, I've run into it. I've seen it at your gym too, of people that almost inexplicably feel like they're not in the center of things. And I have someone particularly in mind that was like, I think everyone liked him and it was just a nice guy. And then one time after class, he was sort of like, yeah, I just, I feel like there's favorites and it's not me. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, everyone likes you. And I felt like I was really surprised, because also I feel like I watch people and I sort of would notice this usually. And I just didn't see this coming at all. He was like, I feel like I'm not one of the, I feel very peripheral here. And then he left.
Right.
He's gone. And
well, I think that is probably a factor of their self-esteem, their view of themselves, their self-image. I find that when people struggle with that, if they have a low self-esteem, low self-image, they have a hard time integrating themselves in a tribe. There's that old Groucho Marx line, I never would want to belong to a club that would accept me as a member. And I've witnessed that. It's a small percentage of people that come in who don't feel great about themselves, and now they're joining this great tribe and they have an opportunity to do wonderful things and feel better about themselves. But they immediately, once you accept them, you lose all credibility.
Right.
They're like, why are you accepting me? I'm a piece of crap. So you must be a piece of crap.
But I could even picture that, like in the context of this gym, an MMA gym or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym, someone coming in like wanting to be in the badass gym, right? Like they're like, I want to be in the gym where everyone,
right.
And then you're like, wait, I'm in the middle of this?
Yeah.
Like, and then they feel like it's like they want to be the small.
It's like
fish.
cognitive
Be
dissonance. They're like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
How can I be in this elite group when I'm far from elite? Yeah. It's very tricky. It's very tricky. And, then they end up stymieing their own growth because of that.
Yeah.
But that's very frustrating. As a coach and a leader, when you see that, you just want to shake these people,
And especially like, again, the example I'm thinking of, you were friendly with them. It's like you're sort of like, I'm trying. Right. I have no idea why you think this. I've seen a few times, right? There's other times coming to mind as I'm saying this of like, same thing. Where I even saw, there was one time with someone, it's been years, but I think it was like, you gave them a new belt or something, and then they right afterward like got on Facebook sort of like saying like, I'm being ignored, or I got this belt for bad reasons and I'm ignored. Something where it was like, he just acknowledge you, like, or John thinks I suck or something, and it's like he just gave you the belt, like he just like, why do you think he did that? Like,
well, I think these were all fascinating ideas, but they're sort of exceptions to the rule, and they're really not about the tribe dynamics. They're about some individual, and
but I think it's important for people to watch out for that, like if you're one of those people, to get it out, sort of be out there like, look, are you shooting yourself in the foot? Like, are you in here thinking you're hated and you're not hated? Or are you thinking that you're not accepted and you are accepted? Or because even I've had versions of that. I'm not that, but I've had versions where I feel like, like, oh, here's this group. They're all really tight. And I'm sort of, maybe I'm a little older or something where I'm like, I'm not one of the real, like,
I'm not one of the cool kids.
This group.
Right.
And then it'll come up like, oh, these two guys hate each other, or these two guys really don't get along, or some version where I'm like, oh, I sort of imagined, I made up in my own mind that there was this group of real tight people, and I'm out here, and then and they have their own. Yeah, I maybe hate each other strong, but you know what I mean. It's sort of like,
no, I think you're right. So in any tribe, there are either start to form cliques and groups, or at least the perception of cliques and groups. Yeah. I think that's natural human nature, but to get back to just the idea of tribe and the benefit of tribe, I think we still need to define tribe. Yeah. So the tribe that we're talking about in this podcast, the main tribe we're talking about, is a real life tribe. So you must have heard of this concept of the Dunbar number.
Dunbar number.
Did you go to college? He's an anthropologist.
Yeah, I can produce documents.
Yeah, Robin Dunbar. So he did some study. He came up with some concept, and it gets banned. You don't listen to enough podcasts because it's mentioned every third podcast. I used to go to a bar called
Dunbar's. Is that a different thing?
So the idea is that they studied primates, and they studied the size of primates' brains, so gorillas or chimpanzees or something, and they looked at the size of the tribes or the groups that these primates tend to form. And based on that, they calculated that humans typically will have a maximum number in their tribe of 150 people. So, it's one of those things that's completely theoretical. So
it sounds a little.
Yeah. It's
just
anyways,
but
the idea is
I could have guessed about 150.
Right. You should have just said 150. Yeah. But the real important idea is it's about real people that you can interact with on a real basis. You know what I mean? So up from that 300,000 years to now, the vast majority of that time, we interacted face to face, sort of toes to toes in real life. You would go hunting, you would give me some of your meat, I would do something for you in exchange, and it was this mutual exchange of value in real time with real people. And when you do that, you get real esteem. So if I go out and I somehow manage to hunt and score something and I come back, you're going to be actually really grateful. You're not even going to have to pretend. It's not going to be one of those, oh, thank you very much, like when you get some gift that you don't want, because it's actually food that's going to sustain you. So you're like, you are grateful. So I'm getting real gratitude, real esteem from a real person.
Right. And the extension of that, I'm assuming is what you're saying, is that real contentment or happiness, it's wired into us to have these exchanges and to have say it's 150 people or not, but to have a group like that where you have these real exchanges.
Right.
And without that, you're losing something or you've lost something.
I think so. And I think it's fundamental to feel needed. So if I do something for you and you give me gratitude and esteem, I feel needed. And that sense of being needed is essential to feel fulfilled and to be happy, I guess, if that's not too broad of a word. So that's what a tribe does. It gives you that opportunity to get real esteem in real time.
Right. And this, of course, the offshoot of this is what you hear all the time now, is that people are losing that with the virtual tribe, with Facebook.
Right. Exactly.
Or whatever. It's not Facebook anymore, but
social media.
Instagram and social media in general. That's at the risk, of course, of sounding like, just old, and like, you're just, but I think I don't feel like the crotchety old, like, it's social media. I think these are legitimate concerns about social media. It's not, this isn't about evaluating social media. It's
Absolutely.
just about saying this is one downside that is out there.
Absolutely. Never mind the future with virtual reality and whatever the hell else is coming. We're all going to be in pods like the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Pretty frightening.
But I think, and as far as, maybe this is getting too far and you want to rein it back in, but I'm just watching today, in light of some of the things that have happened in the news lately, there's staggering statistics that, because they said since it was like 2002, it was something like suicide rate in this country has doubled. Like it's some shocking, I'm like, 2002 is not that long ago.
No.
It's not like since 1940 and, the rise of the automobile, it's sort of like 2002.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And it was like doubled or up 33%. It was some strike. It wasn't like some tiny number.
Right.
And at least to the point of, and I'm not going to be out there saying I know why exactly, but something is happening. Like that was the main take home for me. It was like something is happening. Like the number
totally
was so
agree.
striking.
I see men especially, because that's who we work with at the Academy most, when they're starting to get down and they're starting to get depressed for different reasons in life. Maybe they're going through a divorce, getting rejected from their wife or spouse, or some other things happening in their life. Sometimes they sort of retreat from the tribe and they stop coming in, to their detriment, because now they're not getting that esteem that they would be getting, and all the other outlets to support, the emotional support.
And wouldn't it stand to reason, again, and I'm not trying to make some bold claim or like data-driven claim, but that there's some failure of tribe when someone gets that, deeply depressed. Like, right, it's almost, if you're deeply involved in any tribe, or like just picture if you're at the gym every day talking to people, it almost feels like you have to withdraw to get really, really low.
I think
so. It's really hard to be out there and giving things to people and taking things back back and forth and get really, really low. I'm not saying it's impossible, but
what I see is when people are helping someone else is when they're healing from their own depression and they're breaking sort of the cycle of, I don't want to sound judgmental, but self-pity, where they're feeling bad about themselves in the situation and they're trying to, how the hell did this happen? They're running this sort of analysis in their head of like, why am I getting divorced? Why did I get fired? What the hell is going on? What's going to happen to me next? And when they're in the moment helping somebody else, that goes away for a while.
Right.
And it gives them a chance to sort of regroup. I think, if you're helping somebody else, it's very hard to feel really depressed and down. I mean, at least for the moment when you're helping somebody else, that's going to be put on the shelf. So that alone is just huge.
So maybe this is part of what you're talking about, but I was thinking about, and I guess it's either what we're talking about next or what we're in the middle of talking about, which is, what do you mean by tribe is not totally answered yet. In that, I'll give you an example. I'm going to a gym now where I just run on the treadmill and I work out. and it's no tribe at all to me, right? You know, it's like
No.
it's not of any sort. Like
You and the treadmill or
Yeah,
tribe of
yeah.
two.
I would go to there's people I see, sort of the same people every day, but I
Right.
kind of don't want to even talk to them.
Yeah.
And you know, they sell shirts, and someone said like, "Oh, you're going on vacation soon. You should take a picture of us with this gym shirt on." And I'm like, I almost laughed. I was like, like with this gym shirt on, like why would I?
You felt
This
no
is just a place
affiliation.
where there's a
Yeah.
bench press. Like I don't,
Right.
like
I don't wear McDonald's shirts.
Yeah,
either,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
so I guess, but that's a gym, and you have a gym, and
Right.
yours is tribe, and that one is not.
Yes.
And I guess why do you think that? What's the difference?
Well, why would an individual feel a sense of affinity to a group, affiliation to the group? I think it's what we just talked about, that exchange of value. So especially when you train jiu-jitsu, you're on the mat, you're sort of conjuring up a conflict. I'm trying to strangle you, you're trying to strangle me, and how do we navigate that? And how do we get better in the art? You help me get better, I help you get better. There's an exchange there. There really is an exchange of value.
Of course, and there has to be, right?
There
Like
has
you
to be.
can't do it on your own.
Exactly. And that creates that. And I think CrossFit does a good job of that. You know, they're sort of competing with each other and against each other, but they're encouraging each other. So I think in that environment, they seem to cultivate a sense of affinity and affiliation.
And to what you're saying, you almost have to, either of these things, either if martial arts or CrossFit, you sort of have to get ahead of people that eventually, of new people. And then you find yourself in a position of, whether you planned on it or not, you're like, I'm helping now. Like I'm instructing now.
Right.
Like you can't, no one spends 6 months at your gym and never helps a new person. You know, like sooner or later, someone's new. And you're like, even if you felt like you were the uncoordinated one, or you were like not that good at it, or you weren't, you never expected to be, or non-athletic, after 6 months, you're going to be helping somebody. You're going to, someone is going to know less than you, and you're going to be not an instructor, but instructing.
And I think an effective tribe has to have a sense of a mission and a cause that's greater than the individual. So I'm enlisting myself in this cause. So I think in jiu-jitsu back in the day, I don't know if it's still that way now, there was this kind of concept of this is a better martial art, or we're training live and these other martial arts aren't. I don't think it's exactly true, but that was sort of the concept. And we're waking the world up to what martial arts should be, this type of thing. And that, that's some kind of mission.
Yeah. That's faded a little bit, I think,
I
but
think it's
only
faded,
because more
totally.
people know about it now.
Yeah.
I remember starting out and being like, I felt, sometimes I think even my own view is dated, where I'm like, does anyone even know what MMA is? And people are like, yeah, we know what it is. Like, but I think you can get surprised. I think you spend so many years in jiu-jitsu, and probably people listening to this have some idea of what jiu-jitsu is, and they forget that there's people that, I just was at Staples yesterday, and I said I was mentioning a gym. I mentioned your gym near here, and I was like, it's an MMA gym, and he had no idea. Young guy was like, MMA, and I'm like, he doesn't know what it is. Like, so you can
Should've choked him unconscious.
Yeah. And then as he woke up, said, that's what it is. but you know what I mean? They don't, you'd be surprised.
Well,
you can talk to, people, you're like,
the point is, you do need some kind of cause.
Yeah.
And if you have, especially sort of, if you're trying to survive, if your tribe is under attack from another tribe or some force that could possibly wipe you out, that's where the tribe's going to coalesce and be stronger than ever.
And the interaction with other people is good. Like even maybe your gym more than CrossFit. CrossFit, like you said, is pretty good, but you could do CrossFit and kind of just stay away from everyone, probably. Like not
sure,
talk.
yeah.
Whereas that's almost impossible at your gym, for example, or a lot of gyms, or but just as your gym, for example, you have to interact with people. Like you have to.
Right. So to get back to that, so if you're interacting with people, there's two benefits that immediately jump out that we just talked about. You get out of your own head. You get less self-conscious because you're helping somebody else. You also get real esteem. So even if you're one of those individuals that comes in, the Groucho Marx who doesn't want to accept membership in a club that'll accept them, as their esteem grows, they can get over that feeling.
Yeah.
I got to mention there's a podcast I love. It's called Beat Your Genes. It's with this evolutionary psychologist, Dr. Doug Lisle. You should check it out. It's an awesome podcast, and his information is great. So he has a theory of esteem. He calls it esteem dynamics, and one is this real esteem, like we're talking about. So there's 3 types of esteem, he says. This real esteem, where I do something for you, you give me gratitude and esteem back, and it's terrific. Another is self-esteem. So, I'm describing his idea, so I hope I do it properly. So the idea is we all sort of have an internal audience where we're looking at ourselves, and we're looking at how we're doing vis-a-vis how we should do. So you have an idea of what you should be doing physically, mentally, and in your career and so forth. And this inner audience is looking at you. So if you have a bad day, you eat junk food or whatever the heck you do, that inner audience is going to give you a little bit negative feedback. If you step out of your comfort zone and do something a little bit better maybe than your calibration, you're going to get some positive self-esteem. And then the third level of esteem is what he calls pseudo-esteem. So pseudo-esteem is sort of the social media esteem, where I post a picture up or something, and somebody who I literally do not know other than their avatar on the computer gives me a like or says, hey, terrific. They don't even know who I am. So that's a pseudo-esteem. And pseudo-esteem essentially didn't come into being until civilization was large enough where people could have reputation beyond their individual interaction. So maybe you lived in a
recent development.
So pretty recent, yeah. I would think it's 10,000 or 15,000 or who the hell knows. But at some point, it wasn't happening 300,000 years ago.
And social media is going to spike it through the roof now.
Right.
It's where I think this would probably be the first time where people are putting pseudo-esteem at the top of the list of, over self-esteem and over.
I think you're right.
Like now, I just want those likes.
Well, who are the kings of pseudo-esteem? That would be the Kim Kardashians of the world.
Oh, right.
And they're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
They're flush. They're loaded with dough. And they have, millions of adoring fans or whatever. I'm sure they have people that hate them. But they're
like
very
YouTube stars and people like that,
or celebrities. Like you referred, you didn't say it exactly, Anthony Bourdain. It's so horrible that he took his life recently. And I guess I'm not a celebrity, but if you are a celebrity, you have people who you've never met before in your life to come up to you and shower you with esteem. Just say, you're wonderful. I love you. And that must be a weird feeling, right?
Right. And maybe hollow, I guess. I
think it ultimately is.
Ultimately, yeah. I think, anytime you hear a long-term celebrity, they have the same story, which is you love it. I guess some people love it forever, but a lot of them tell the story of, at first you're like, this is great. It's so strange, people coming up and saying they love me, and then they all tire of it, right? I mean, you all eventually.
Well, I have to think it loses credibility after a while, where somebody comes up to you and you're like, you don't know me. Yeah, I'm a jerk, and you're telling me I'm fantastic. So, yeah, you would probably start to doubt yourself and doubt all of that esteem that's coming in.
Right,
I don't
it's
know.
a whole area. But to your other point, too, of I assume this other podcast you're referring to gets into, like, when these things get out of whack, where you're judging yourself,
right.
Either too harshly or on the wrong criteria, or
right. And you're trying to signal to get esteem. So I'm going to invest a lot of money in nice clothing, a fancy watch, a nice car, this type of thing, so I can signal to people that I'm doing terrific. And you see on social media, people, and taking photos in front of cars and so forth, and boats, and who knows if they even own them.
But so the positive side, though, to what you're saying is, I can imagine using this context. I've seen it again. I've experienced it in your gym, but I assume like it could be a CrossFit gym or a number of other sorts of tribes where I've seen people achieving things well beyond what they ever thought they'd achieve. So it's like not even like I feel bad because I had an extra cupcake, or I feel good because I ate healthy today. It's like, wow, I actually am a really good fighter. And it could be like a non-athletic person that's like, I never even thought that was a possible thing.
I got to show this book I'm reading right now, The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle. He's an amazing writer. This is a fantastic book. I've scribbled all my ranting type notes in it, but the guy's amazing. But he wrote another really cool book called The Talent Code. And the reason why I bring it up is because I'm going to quote an example from the talent code where if you have a tribe, like you're saying, you can raise the expectations of success for the tribe members. So I'm in a tribe, like you said, and I don't think too much of myself, but if I find that I'm in a tribe that is having all the success, it can change my expectations of success for myself. That wouldn't happen if I wasn't in this tribe. So the example he uses is he talks about Andrew Jones, who was on the Atlanta Braves, the baseball player. And I think it was 1996. He came up and he played in the World Series. In his first two at-bats, I think it's a record that he only holds. His first two at-bats in the World Series were home runs. And he came from this tiny island nation of Curacao. And it just put the baseball bug in Curacao. So I just read a stat that in something like the last 10 years, there's more Major League Baseball players per capita come from Curacao, it's a tiny nation, than any other country in the world. And something like in 2004, I think, they won the Little League World Series, and they hadn't been contenders before that. So it took 8 years for it to kick in, but they changed his success, changed the expectations of the tribe. And once the expectations of the tribe changed, then they started seeing all this achievement. You see it in the Dominican Republic, right? They have an insane amount of guys in the Major League Baseball. And I think there's like one player from Haiti, and it's the same island, right? So it's why would that happen? It has to be cultural expectations, and I would say that's a factor of the tribe.
Yeah, you're saying it's the power of being like, this is possible.
This is possible. Not only is this possible, this is expected. We're expected to win. We're expected to be great. Yeah, that's another level up. You're right. First, there's like, this is impossible. Oh, maybe this is possible. And then it goes to that point where, no, this is expected. Here we go. This is what we're doing, man. And that attitude is so powerful.
Right. So before that, though, there's I think a great example, again, is an MMA gym or a jiu-jitsu gym where there's a big hurdle in walking in the door. And I didn't feel it. I didn't have it for the MMA gym because I already had it walking into the boxing gym where I was just a guy, you know, and I like went to this dingy kind of boxing gym where it was like half the building was abandoned and like kind of broken down. And I actually don't know how this, like there was no running water in the gym. Like, aren't there like codes or I sort of like,
not for boxing
building
gyms.
Inspector? Like I was like, I was like, sorry, I have to go to the bathroom. And they were like, yeah, we go out in the parking lot. And there was like there really was. There was a parking lot overgrown with weeds. And they were like, you just go out in the weeds. And I was like, there's got to be some kind of health code or something, right? Like, I can't imagine. Is some inspector like, yeah, that's fine. Oh, where do they do the parking lot? That's fine. But anyway, but it was an intimidating scene for me, like because I didn't understand. You know, it was alien to me. So I was talking.
It's like when Rocky walks into the gym in what is it, Rocky 3? When Apollo takes him to that gym, in Detroit, and it's like, holy cow, yeah.
And at least he was Rocky Balboa. You know what I mean? Like I'm like some dad from the suburbs. You know, I'm sort of like, is this, you know? And then you get used to it. Like now, it's nothing for me to walk into like Connor's MMA, right? But other people, they don't know what's in that door. You know, and again, it's a great example for your gym because it has a bunch of things that they could be scared of. But it could be, you know, it could be literally a weight room. There's people that are like, I've never been in a weight room or I know my wife, you know, she'll be like, I'll get on a machine, but I wouldn't go near like the free weights. Like that's like a scary area to me. Like I don't, you know, and for me, I'm like, why, you know, it seems bizarre. It's like, why would that be at all scary to go there? Or for me at this point, it's like, why would it be at all scary to go into Connor's MMA? It's just a place where you can go. But people have to take that first step to get in. And I think you can forget how intimidating it is. You can forget how alien it is for some people.
So how does an individual overcome that?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Well, I'm asking you.
Or you're asking me? Well, for me, I was able to like... one thing is most people don't, right? I think
most people don't.
I think it's a filter. One thing I liked about a lot of the people in the MMA gym, or, you know, to a lesser extent, but the boxing gym, is it's filled with people that it's almost a filter where you get sort of people that can overcome that. You know, like so the people in there are...
It's almost self-selecting. You get people who are rugged and willing to step outside their comfort zone and so forth. Unfortunately, I think there's something to that for sure.
Right. And then there's that second barrier, which you've noticed more than me, because for me it was coming in the gym, but staying for more than like a day,
right?
Not being like, this was too scary. You said people come in and won't even participate and leave because it's
very
just,
rarely. Very rarely. If somebody comes in, I always try to get them to try a class, and if they are too uncomfortable to try a class, it's rare that they'll be able to follow through. It happens occasionally, but it's not as the numbers aren't as good in that case.
But do you think it's impossible to make it easier for people to overcome that discomfort?
No, I don't think it's impossible. What I think now, here's one way. I think people need, if they want to make a major change in their life, they need pain, discomfort. They need a crisis. That's when people can make major change, because change is always painful. Or at least the perception, at least there's a perceived pain of, I'm going to make a big change in my life. Oh my God, this is going to hurt. This is going to suck. So they have to have something that sucks way worse to power them through that. And we see people like that. They are in some sort of crisis. And I think in our culture now, we're so down on pain. If you have any pain, you can go in a drugstore. There's a million painkillers for every pain imaginable, and we're really down on
pain and discomfort, even, right?
Yeah, yes.
And discomfort is unacceptable now.
Unacceptable. We're in a temperature-controlled culture. It's unbelievable, right? People go from an air condition in New England. And we're not talking about in southern Florida. And they go from air-conditioned car to air-conditioned building. If you don't have air conditioning in your house, people look at you like you're a savage. It's one step above going to the bathroom in the parking lot with the weeds. If you don't have AC in your house, people look at you. Are you crazy? Yeah. So we're so used to comfort. We're so bubble wrapped. We can't have any pain. And
we've talked about it before too. And the extension of that is, if there is any discomfort in anyone's life, it's like this furious, why did that happen? And like, who's to blame? And
who's to blame?
What? Like,
right.
It literally can be someone trips and falls on the sidewalk, and it'll be like, who the hell is in charge of these sidewalks? Why was there a little bump in this sidewalk? Like, how was that allowed to happen? How can the town of Norwood allow a crack in a sidewalk? Who's in charge?
Right.
And they're in trouble. Like, it's like, we must fix what happened, and someone's to blame.
But I think the beauty of pain and crisis is you can fuel your major personal transformation. So if you can just hold on to that pain and let it push you forward and drive you, you're going to end up with so much more at the end. You're going to transform yourself, and the pain is going to go away, and you're going to be a better person. You're going to be in a better place. Life is going to be so much better than when we shrink from the pain. And you know what? You know this from martial arts or whatever. When you're shrinking from the pain, it makes it worse.
Yeah.
It hurts worse.
Well, boxing, they always say that people flinch and turn away, and I did it too. You flinch or close your eyes or turn away, and then they tee off on you.
Right.
And you're like, wait, this is way
Any
worse.
contact martial art or sports like football, the best thing you can do in football is bite down on your mouthpiece and slam into that guy as hard as you frickin' can. And that's going to hurt a lot less than trying to, I'll give him an 80% or I'll try to deflect. It doesn't work, So when you're shrinking away from pain, it just makes it worse and makes it linger. That kind of pain is almost like dread. When you're dreading something, you're just cranking the volume up on your pain, and it doesn't help you because you're not moving forward. You're retreating and moving back. If you could just take the pain and use it to propel you forward,
I know.
that's the way
I've
to
always
do it.
thought about that, being exhausted in jiu-jitsu, and someone's on top of you, and you're like, I do not have the energy to try to get out of here. And then you're like, well, now I'm really getting smashed like that.
Right.
Like, this is 10 times worse. Like, now I'm getting like, it's like, I wish I just kind of sucked it up. And I know it's exhausting to have to like,
I remember one
thrash
time back in the day, I was doing a private lesson with this guy, and he came in really late at night, 9:30, and there was no other students around. And he wanted to learn how to do the mounts or something, and we started training live. And the guy was 300 pounds.
Yeah.
I was probably 180 pounds at the time. And big, strong guy. And he's mounted on top of me, and I'm starting to escape. And then that thought occurred to me. I'm like, what if I never get out of here? They may find me years from now. Like, he couldn't get out of the mount, this 300-pound dude. And I'm all alone. I couldn't yell for help or anything. But, I got out, of course, and there wasn't a problem. But you can have those funny moments of panic. But that's a good experience, because when you're doing jiu-jitsu, realistically, it's perfectly safe, but sometimes your nervous system feels like you're in mortal danger. And then you can learn to cope with that situation, which is to your great benefit.
Right. And you're saying even before that, for getting in the door, it's understandable that you're uncomfortable. It's out of your comfort zone to walk
Yes.
through that door for
That's
a lot
it.
of people.
Listen, if you're not feeling uncomfortable, you're not stepping outside your comfort
Yeah.
zone, you're not growing.
Right.
So you should feel uncomfortable regularly. On the regular, get uncomfortable. Otherwise, you're in your if you stay in your comfort zone, the zone shrinks and you end up painting yourself in a corner.
Right.
And you end up nothing is comfortable anymore.
Right. And just to be clear, it's like it sounds like we're talking about boxing gyms, like sort of these are sort of the extreme examples.
Right.
But people are uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable going into a yoga studio, I'm like, I don't belong here. I'm not a yoga guy.
Well, that's the thing. When you embrace comfort, you'll soon find everything uncomfortable. Right. You won't want to go to yoga. Ooh, I don't want to go to the gym. Go for a walk around the block. I don't know. Somebody might see me, and they'll see me walking and how I walk. I don't want anyone to see me walking. Before you know it, you are an agoraphobe, and you never leave your house.
Yeah.
And everybody feels uncomfortable for different reasons. I used to have a real tough thing with heights, so I started doing indoor rock climbing, and it took a while. It took like about a year to deal with it, but I feel so much better now. And those are wonderful experiences, because when you conquer something like that, that's where you get real confidence. That's the real self-esteem. You go out and do something in the real world, not online, not a video game. I do something in the real world. I transform myself. I take on a challenge. And you really transform just by taking on the challenge. You don't even need victory necessarily to transform. And then you really transform yourself.
Yeah, and you briefly brought up the idea of dread, and I think it's accurate in that the dread is always stronger than the reality. Not always, almost always stronger than the reality. So you feel like, I can't, you're like me walking into this gym or that yoga studio or getting on that rock wall or getting up on a stage and singing or getting up on a stage and telling jokes. You're like, oh my, this is going to be. And the dread almost always is worse than doing
Absolutely.
it. Right?
Absolutely. We should go out singing sometime, Dan.
Yeah,
some
I
karaoke.
can't wait. So you don't always have to face your dread, right?
We could do a duet. We could do, what is that?
You Don't
Dolly
Bring Me
Parton
Flowers?
And Kenny Rogers or something.
Yeah.
Islands in the Stream or something.
Yeah, or Summer Lovin'.
Only if you do the John Travolta part.
I assumed.
All right, man. I think we've covered a lot of territory here.
Oh,
so
wow.
do you know what tribe is now? You know what I'm talking about when I say tribe?
Why don't you summarize?
Let me summarize. Thank you, Dan. A tribe is a group of real people that I feel affiliated with, that I come into physical contact with essentially on a regular, if not daily basis. I help them. They help me. We have a cause that's greater than our own benefit. And there's so many. I got a whole other, Dan, I got notes, man. I got a whole other list, about 15 or 20 benefits from the tribe.
Right, we didn't even really get to the benefits.
We didn't get to the
We're
benefits.
just still defining.
Exactly. But that's the tribe I'm talking about. Of course, there's other tribes that we'll get into later, bigger tribes. You could call it super tribes. The real power of humanity, of Homo sapiens, is cooperation. If we get together as groups, we can do amazing things that we can't do individually. But I'm talking about that smaller tribe that we can have a daily experience with.
And I know that you're going to continue to talk to people like from your gym and elsewhere that come in here and talk about their own personal, just to put it like, so we know people that have really transformed in major ways from joining a tribe. And
we know people who have suffered by shrinking away from the tribe.
Yeah. And they're also really different kinds of people, like dramatically different kinds of people. So it's not like, again, I think there's this idea of like, but I'm not a yoga person, or I'm not a CrossFit person.
Not a martial arts
I'm not even an athlete. How could I go in there? And it's like, you'll see, we've seen people, dramatically different kinds of people that benefit and have benefited.
Oh, Dan, tell me about the contest that we're running. We didn't talk about that. We'll talk about that, and then we'll wrap this up.
The contest, is this a quiz?
This is a quiz. I want to hear if you listen to anything I say. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. I think you've completely tuned me out. But
the contest is...
What's the contest?
to convince you,
To convince
John Connors,
Okay.
that you are of a mindset that you want a major change in your life.
Okay, so I'm offering people something? Is that what you're saying?
I think if I have it right, you're offering 1 year
1 year. Okay.
of,
Yeah.
of basically of helping someone achieve some major transformation in their life.
Yeah. I call it, Dan, I call it a mentorship. So I'm not going to count your push-ups or your sit-ups or your crunches or anything like this.
Well, because my understanding of that is it wouldn't be a suitable goal to be like, I want to be able to do 20 push-ups.
No.
It's
We're looking for major transformation. And it can be in any realm. You can, if you want to lose a lot of weight, if you want to dramatically change your confidence, if you want to go from being a wimp to a badass fighter, whatever it is. And you don't have to be in our existing tribe. You can be somebody who's not interacted with us before, or you can be in our tribe. And what you need to do, Dan, is you need to send me an email, a Facebook message, or DM me on Instagram. Reach out to me and explain what you want to do. Tell me why you're motivated. And I'm going to pick somebody. And I'm going to pick 2 people, actually. We want 2 people, and we're going to work with you for a year, and we're going to make your dreams come true.
right. How do they get in touch with you?
Dan, I'm going to make your dreams come true.
Yeah, you already said I'm not actually eligible.
Oh, yeah, you're not eligible. But I
Did
just
you say
like
I'm the one person not eligible?
You're the one person not eligible. But I just wanted to tell you that because I care so much about you.
Right. I know you're doing this, though, just because giving benefits you.
Right, right. So 2 people, so they can reach me on Instagram, John Connors 2718. I think I am on Instagram. On the Facebook page, we got I'm on there as John Connors. Just find us, Connors Martial Arts MA. My email is John JOHN at Dedham, like the town, DEDHAMJJ.com. Send me a message. Convince me to choose you, and we're going to choose 2 people, and we're going to change their lives, Dan. Dan, we're changing lives here.
But I actually, the people out there that are doubting, I think, I've seen it work, and a year to do it.
We'll do it.
Even I would encourage people, pick something that you think you almost can't believe that you could get done.
Absolutely. Pick a moonshot. Let's do a moonshot for sure. Awesome. Well, Dan, that was a great podcast, man. Thank you for your help.
Sure.
Yeah, you're brilliant and articulate. And I can't wait for the next podcast.
Excellent.
All right.